Hey, my name is Casey Smith, and I'm with Bed to Dead. Will be my second season with them. I am the owner of River Smith Outdoors. I have a fly fishing and light tackle guide service. Well, my hunt last year, I live in central Michigan, so I mainly hunt up north in the National Huron Forest. But I'm blessed that I got some reservation land. I live on the reservation in Michigan, so I can hunt res land where I live. So last year it was full of big bucks, and I got tons of footage pre-scouting in the summer of all these big bucks that were in all the fields and stuff. So the night where I just shot my biggest buck to date, I got a 10 point that scored 143, and he's a pretty big hog. But so anyway, prior to me shooting him that night, I was hunting across the street from where I shot him, and I was in a little subdivision. I wasn't expecting much. It was mainly, I'm just popping here and there just to see what is out there and if I can get a beat on a buck, and then I'll try to hone in on him. So I'm hunting probably a couple hundred yards from this little into this subdivision with a couple houses, and this monster buck steps out with a couple smaller bucks, and of course I leave my rangefinder at home. So I always have my binoculars and my rangefinder together. Well, that night I had neither. It was hot, so I don't know, I must have got lazy, and well, I paid the price, right? So this buck, I guess, made him at probably 50 yards, and when I range find it the next morning, he was at 46 yards, and I aimed high with my 50-yard pin, so I shot right over his back. It happens, right? Um, it was an awesome hunt. I didn't really expect to see a hog. I didn't really know what to expect. I knew I would see deer, but I just didn't expect that size caliber of a buck to come that close from the houses. So anyway, about a week later, I'm driving, figuring out where I'm gonna hunt, and I said a little prayer. I said, Lord, I said, let me see a big buck tonight, and let me be able to double lung him. Well, that's exactly what happened about 2 hours later. So I get set up, and I'm on the edge of a bean field, and I see about an hour before dark, I see a little 6 point, chasing a doe and keeps messing with her, and then this giant steps out, and so I hit the snort wheeze, I hit the grunt tube a little bit, and he's a little too far off to hear me, so I go a little louder, and I notice that he finally heard me, so he starts coming my way. Well, he starts trotting towards the end of the field, and I'm probably like 80 yards from the edge of this the wood line. So there's no way I'm gonna get a shot. So he gets right to the edge, and he stops, and then I pull out my bleat, and I keep hitting my bleat, and I'm looking at him through my binoculars, and I noticed that his ear twitched my way, so I hit the bleat one last time, and he heard it, and he V-lined right to me. So I was so excited that usually I pull my bow back before I mat him, and I didn't. I was getting full draw and then I finally said mat. When I was in my draw, he looks up at me. Luckily he didn't take off, but I had a 27-yard shot, and I smoked him double lung, and but no blood. It was pretty crazy. He ran a little over 150 yards, but my buddy had a tracking dog, and we went right to him. I would have found him, luckily, but it was a pretty exciting hunt, and it's my biggest to date. So.
Brett.
Well, so 2 weeks later after my first hunt, it was November 6th, I'm headed to one of my spots, and I'm just driving, and I'm not trying to be greedy, right? I just shot a 143 inch 10 point. It's my biggest to date with the bow. And I'm just driving, and I'm like, Lord, I'm not trying to be greedy, but I would love to, shoot a 160 and recover it. I've I've had a chance at a few of them through the years, which are rare, in Michigan, but they're here, especially where I hunt in northern Michigan. But so anyway, I said my little prayer, and I hunt this little bean field. Last year, a lot of the spots where I was hunting was, beans, and now this year it's corn. Well, so last year anyway, I'm hunting this spot, and I've been in there a couple times, and I've seen a couple shooters. So I always play the wind where I'm going to get busted. Hopefully I don't, but I try to hit that crosswind where my wind will just miss where they're bedded. And that's how I did with my 10 point. That's how I did with all the bucks that are on my wall. I always, they always come with the wind right in their face. So I always try to get a crosswind where I might get busted, but hopefully I get a shot before I do, right? So this monster 9 point steps out, and he's chasing does, and he gets within about 55 yards, and I could have shot, but I didn't because I was hoping he would come a little closer to the edge of this field where I was at. Well, he didn't. He stepped back in the woods, and 5, 10, 15 minutes later, he steps out in the field again. He's a couple hundred yards away, and here he comes again. So I'm trying to grunt at him, and whatever I can to try to get him to come my way, or just to get his attention. Well, he's slowly coming, and sure enough, he gets right at that 55 marker again, and he's getting ready to step back in the woods. Well, he was pretty close to broadside, and I ranged him at 55 yards, so I pulled the bow back, and I smoked him, and I recovered him. I let him sit for a while because it was such a long shot. I normally don't do it, but you know what? I shoot consistently at 70 yards all the time for just in case shots I have to do. There was no wind, so it was perfect, So I felt confident in the shot, and I shot him, and I recovered him, and I got a 127 inch 9 point and a 143 inch 10 point during bow season in Michigan last year. It was pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to this year. I got a couple hogs I'm chasing on state land, and right in the National Huron Forest that's pushing that 160 range. That's a monster buck for a wild deer with no farms nowhere around. So hopefully we'll see.